भाई इतना पता होता तो कहीं और पहुंच नहीं गए
complete
थे.
insight of how to start a rock
I can tell you how not to start a rock band, perhaps.
So, okay, let's begin.
band. Yeah, that can also help.
So, welcome guys to RPSH podcast. We have two guys from Swarathma band, which is a very different kind of band. You'll not hear music like that anywhere else. It's a folk rock band, and we have Varun and Jishnu from Swarathma. So, hey guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having us. Really means a
Good to
lot.
be here.
Yeah, so you were saying why
Thank
not to
you.
start a rock band? So, could you say something about that?
So see, if you ask any reasonably minded individual, it could be in your parents' generation or even in your friends, they may tell you a lot of reasons why you should not be following a rock band passion. भाई ये सब ठीक है, गिटार विटार घर पे बजाओ, हाँ दोस्तों के साथ कैंटीन में बजाओ, बट इसको करियर बनाने की क्या जरूरत है? मतलब इतने सारी तो चीजें हैं करने को, मतलब पढ़ाई करो भाई मन लगा के. So there are a lot of reasons. There's no stability of income. There is absolutely no guarantee that you will succeed in any way. There is intense competition, no doubt. The most difficult thing you have to deal with is your own insecurity कि मैं जो कर रहा हूँ ये अच्छा है कि नहीं है. Is this song good or is this piece of music nice? Will people like it? When you bring it out,
Yeah.
some people like it, you feel good. Then you feel like people don't like it. So then that affects you even more. So it's a lifelong struggle with personal insecurity and professional insecurity. तो ये सब चीजों में अगर मजा आता है तो बहुत अच्छा, बेटा रॉक बैंड जरूर शुरू करो. But having said all of that, if you really have something to say, if you have feelings to share or an opinion to put out or a thought to share with the world at large, and you also find colleagues who become, of course, friends and almost family members in band members, and you find that what you create together is bigger than what you're able to create yourself, then by all means form a band and follow your passion by making music, playing music, recording and releasing music that help people make sense of the world just as it helps you to make sense of yourself and your world. That would be my answer.
Right. So, who were the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
guys?
that's.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also add to that is I think the biggest thing in a band that if you ever really form a band is the learning of me becomes we. I think that's the biggest thing. If you need to ask yourself that question: are you okay with being we than being me? Because if you're going to be all about I and me and you know, then band is a worse place to be in. But if you're okay with sharing that limelight with others or whatever it is, I mean sharing your song idea with somebody else, them being okay with it, them not being okay with it, making compromises with things, yeah, then band is a quite a beautiful place to be in that sense.
So, is this the main reason why
So,
most of the bands break?
Varun,
The people break the bands. The people go on their own ways. Is this the main reason because they are not able to share the limelight or something?
One of the main reasons is that I believe it's harder, when any form of success hits you, and the natural instinct is that you feel like your chest is puffed and you're somebody now, in the society, and all of a sudden, if you're going to be walking around with that sort of an attire, and you're going to be like, hey dude, by the way, you're supposed to be respecting me, you know who I am, if that's how it's going to work, then you're digging your own grave, right? And
You're
one of
digging it
the
with your own guitar, like ऐसे ही
yeah,
खोद रहे हो, अपने
exactly.
गिटार के साथ खोद रहे हो.
And the thing with bands we have often seen, like some of the world's most successful bands, and why they have broken up, and a biggest problem is the communication part of it, with regards to starting from finance. I think it's the most important part. Most people people break up because of financial issues. So you got to be very transparent about it and say that, hey, this is what it is. This is how it's going to work.
Hmm.
And everybody needs to be in agreement, have your discussions. And same thing works with song rights.
Hmm.
Who wrote the song? Who owns it? I wrote this part, then I didn't get this much money for that. All of these things eventually kind of bottles down to the money part,
Hmm.
because money somehow seems to be the factor that can either make you feel that you're successful in what you're doing,
Hmm.
or you're not successful in what you're doing. Because even the external society will ask you, okay, how much are you earning doing what you're doing? Are you earning well enough or not? That's how they gauge whether you're successful or not. So I think it boils down to money, and you want to be very sure that your communication with regards to money is super clear. And then comes ego issues, attitude issues within the band members. I mean, my thing is ego is bad in itself, but if you're really going to throw ego out at the world, it's a different thing. But if you're going to throw it within your band, then you're surely destroying it again.
बिल्कुल सही जवाब. तुम्हें 10
So
पॉइंट मिलते
like
हैं.
Varun,
Yeah.
so like Varun, yeah, for in your band, so according to it, it is the biggest success that ऐसा कुछ अभी तक तुम्हारे band में आपके band में नहीं हुआ.
अरे
Ego
क्या बात
issues
कर रहे हो
or
भाई, रोज
any
होता है,
background.
रोज, एवरी डे. मतलब कभी कभी दिन में 2 बार.
Yeah, I mean, when you say stuff like this has not happened, one thing I can kind of proudly say about Swaratma is that uh, we were very clear about our financial things right from the beginning. And I remember having this, our first finance sort of a meeting, if you want to call that, at a radio station office when we met for our first album. Our album was going to come out and we were going to start getting interviewed for it. And we were like, guys, so like Vasu very clearly said, I think at this point in time we can't afford to take money. Even if we take, it's going to be only this much and not beyond that. Is everybody okay with it?
Hmm.
And we all had to take that quick decision call for our own selves, not for other people, and say, are you in the journey or are you not?
Hmm.
The moment you say no to it, then there's a problem. You got to discuss it out. And thankfully with Swaratma we have maintained that till now. And in fact, so much so that even with our crew members who we hire for our gigs to work with, we are extremely transparent about our finances with them. Like, we very clearly share that, hey, this is how much we're willing to pay, and are you okay with this? And if you're not okay with this, no hard feelings, it's perfectly fine. So everybody works in the band because they love working with the band, and that's sort of like an atmosphere that we have created within the band. Having said that, yes, like Jishnu said, that doesn't mean there are no problems.
Hmm.
The human beings, we're bound to have problems. I think at some point or the other, in some form or the other, we do have our problems, but it's also about how we sort it out. Sometimes we do fight with each other.
Yeah.
I may walk out of a meeting. I've done that in the past. And but then you come back. It's not like you're gone forever.
Hmm.
You cool down, and by then the other person says, that's not what I meant, I'm sorry, maybe I came across wrong. Or then, whatever, you went
Yeah.
out in some other way and
Hmm.
you come back and stuff like that. Yeah, but I think we are still together, so that should speak a lot.
Hmm. So
भाई तूने बात ऐसे कर दी है, बाहर सायरन बजने लगे मतलब.
So, the financial part, is it like a equity distribution like happens in a startup, like 20%, 40%, 33%, or is it like that, or is it something
Yeah,
else?
it's quite similar.
Hmm.
It's not unlike a startup, except that we don't have plans to scale. We don't have any growth plans for all the members. I'm bass guitar player. I'm not going to become chief executive bassist next year. I have, there is no such promotion plan available. What we do have, like you said, is we're a partnership and everyone's an equal partner in the band.
Hmm.
So the partnership deed allocates each of us owns 1/6 of the share of the band. And that's how we share profits as well whenever there are profits.
I mean, and that's important, right? Because, like, for example, Joel is a latest addition, the last edition, sorry, not a latest edition, to the band, the drummer who joined. But when we got him on board as a full-time drummer, we made it very clear with him that, hey, you're now going to be an equal shareholder of the band. You're going to sign, we're going to sign you on a contract as an equal member. So even if it means we had earned a certain amount of money playing shows before you join, you have a 1/6 share from that.
Okay.
That's, I
Oh,
think, when
that's a
you're
great point.
willing to put in your money like that and say that it's equal, I think that's when you're earning the trust of the other person. If you say, no, 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 you weren't a part of the band then, so kind of doesn't work like that, dude. I mean, you're losing trust.
Yeah. Who are the first ones to think of making a rock band? The Swarathma.
So, each of us has been on our separate musical journeys until we met with Swarathma. Varun used to be in several college bands. He was also in a semi-professional or professional band until he was available for Swaratma. I was a part of several bands in the past. Wherever I used to be in college, I used to have a band. I am a part of Bodhi Tree, which is the band from XLRI that composed and released songs like Gaan Mein Danda, Excel Ki Kudiyan, and a few songs like that. So that was my band back in the day when I was in college. But after that, I had no real way of pursuing music full time, or no real desire to do it as well, until I moved to Bangalore and met the members of Swarathma. Swarathma had started several years before that in Mysore by Vasu and Pawan, who were the founding members. And they moved to Bangalore a few years after that. They met Monty, who was at the time the drummer of the band, and along with Sanjeev, who was the violinist and continues to be the violinist at the time. We were, the lineup that joined since 2007. Now, so to answer your question, the original idea of Swaratma came from Vasu and Pawan, and then that's the whole idea of it. Like when you have other band members, each of us believes in the idea of the band as much as the people who founded it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, where did you guys meet? I mean, all of you knew each other from the beginning, or what? Where did you meet, and what was the story?
Oh, no, 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 no. अभी आपने
No, not
पूछ ही
at
लिया
all.
तो आपको एकदम मजेदार तरीके से कहानी बताते हैं. Now the thing is, we are such different individuals that if it wasn't for Swaratma, I would never have been friends with any of these fellows in the band. Very likely that I would not even have got along with any of them, because they are quite different from the rest of my friends. And they come from very different backgrounds, and they are not the kind, matlab, I did go to college with any of them, or I मेरे बचपन के भी नहीं है दोस्त or any of that stuff. We came together because all of us wanted to be in a band like this, where the band members take the band more seriously than they take themselves. And that is a huge thing, and that is actually, you could say, an entrepreneurial mantra of sorts. You can say that, if I can find people, look for co-founders, right? As if you have a startup idea, you're looking for a co-founder with whom you can join and become more than just the two of you working individually. So that's what happened. We met in a small bylane in Bangalore, or pretty, down market area of Bangalore, where our drummer used to have a house. जहाँ पे प्रैक्टिस करने से नेबर्स तंग ज्यादा नहीं करते थे लेकिन ज्यादा नहीं. और वहां पे we met for the first time. I remember it was also Varun's first day with the band. It was my first day
Yeah.
as well. These guys had been around for some time. They were there. They were playing for a year or two before we joined the band. And that's where we met for the first time. And, we played, I think, one or two shows. And then the band decided that, हाँ, yeah, इनको रख लेते हैं. And then they offered both of us a full-time position in the band. And we were like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
So
But Varun
we
has a
are
story.
the
A normal band is
So
one thing, but
Varun saw the band members were like, हाँ भाई यहाँ तो अपना जमने वाला है नहीं मैं तो जा रहा है.
Yeah, I mean, the band was recording a demo at one of our common friends' homes, and it was through him that the band got my number, and I ended up at my friend's studio, and I met the band for the first time. I really didn't see myself playing with the band. I was like, wow, like this. Are you serious? Like, I don't know, man. This is so weird. Like, I'm not sure. And
ऐसे
I had a
नमूनों के
college
साथ
band.
हमें ना बजाने बोलो.
I had a college band of my own then, and I was playing with some other professional musicians, trying to be there, possibly the next guitar player and stuff like that. And so this kind of came as a surprise, and so yeah, I did take up the role. I mean, I spoke to my friend, the studio owner guy, and he said, "No, give it a shot. Like, go for it. They're a nice bunch of guys." So I started jamming with the band. That was the same jam Jishnu walked in, and since then I mean, after a couple of gigs, we were offered a full time role, and we accepted gladly. So we are the two Raju Bankaya gentlemen type dudes in the band.
Yeah. So,
So like, yeah.
how did you name the means? What is the story behind naming the band Swarathma?
So the story is that one of the former members of the band, who was not there by the time that Varun and I had joined, his name is Abhinand. He's one of Vasu's friends from Mysore, who was his first bandmate. He's the one who came up with the name Swar and Atma as a combination of two words, soul of the note, a note from the soul. So he's the one with the credit for the name. I think it's a beautiful name. It's like a kind of a timeless, and it really perfectly encapsulates what I think the band is trying to do as well with music.
Yeah.
So like, what is with the folk dance band? Like normal band is one thing, and folk dance band is a completely new thing.
I'm sorry, you said folk dance band?
Folk music band, folk
Folk
rock.
music
Folk
band,
Yeah.
music band. So
folk rock band. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, folk
folk
rock
band.
music is not really very new. If you just look at Indian folk traditions or folk traditions in general, I mean, they are pretty much what you kind of hear when you're growing up. There's a lot of Bollywood music that is inspired by folk music as well. Folk is the music of the people. It's usually the sound of people working. तो जो नाव चला रहा होता है उसका गाना होता है, जो फसल काट रहा होता है उसका गाना होता है, जो if you're doing some kind of work. In fact, blues music originated in the cotton fields of the US, when it was hard labor, and to address that boredom and drudgery of hard labor, you invent songs that makes it easier to deal with. So that's where the folk traditions originally come from. Like wo hota na, the pounding of wheat.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a steady rhythm of the pounding of wheat. There are so many songs around that one action in different cultures, in different languages. So when you take something like that and you blend it with what is happening internationally or music that you like, and then you bring it together, you have what is called folk rock or folk, contemporary folk. So having said that, we don't play folk songs. Our songs are our original songs, but we are influenced by some of the traditions of folk in some songs or in many songs. So I think it's not really very new. I mean, Indian Ocean has been doing it for 25, 30 years, right? I mean, they are also in that same space. And there are several other artists like that who have taken Indian folk as a base or as a creative tool to express what they want to say.
Hmm. So, you guys are practicing music since your childhood, or what? Means, were you interested in music since your childhood, or you picked it up in your teenage?
Yeah, I mean,
Or like your parents said, बेटा पहले engineering कर दो, उसके बाद ये सब कर लेना.
no. So in
Something
my
like that.
case, I was always kicked about music in that sense. I mean, not that I was not playing the guitar for that, in that sense, but I loved music all the time. I loved I mean, I had a long hair and ponytail and all that even as a small kid, and I used to sit on this what looked like a multi-story um, stand, like a TV stand or whatever, which had like a TV on the first floor and the music system on the second floor, like a cassette player. And I would sit on that. My parents would carry and put me on that, and I would be sitting and bobbing my head, listening to music. And from there, I think it was sort of eventually. I mean, I tried my hands on so many different forms of art. I loved dancing as a kid. I used to paint a lot. I learned martial arts for about 2 years and so many things. And eventually, I kind of settled with the guitar. The moment I kind of like laid my eyes on an actual real guitar like in front of me, I love the way it looked. I love the way it sounded. Everything about it was like just cool factor. And I was like, I want to learn whatever that thing is. I want to learn it. I want to learn how to play that. And I immediately enrolled for lessons. And I was so kicked about it and I was so passionate about it that I just wanted to get it right, at whatever cost. I was like, I want to learn this. So I jumped multiple tutors because people weren't able to teach me the way I wanted to play. And until I finally ended up with really good bunch of people, starting with Bruce. So that was kind of like my journey into music. And thankfully, I picked up the instrument at a time when I was in college, so I didn't have the pressures of like a I don't know, like a post married life of that sort. So I didn't have to put food on the table for a family or something of that sort. So because of that, my parents were really supportive enough to say, you want to try this, go ahead. And if it doesn't work, you can always come back and see what you want to do, maybe get a job, or I mean, I don't know, or you want to study further, whatever it is. So I think I had things fairly lucky, if you want to use that word, really, that everything kind of fell in place at the right time, and it was easy for me to join the band. And just about the right time, we had an album contract ready within our hands, even before I could quit my college. So even before I left my college, we had our first album contract in our hands. So that made things so much more easier for me, because I could tell my parents, hey, I have a real shot at this. I want to give this a try. This may just work. So which is why I always tell people, if I when I get a chance, start off early. Especially college bands, when they come and ask, what do I do? I'm like, put in all your heart and soul into it now, because now is the time when you don't have the pressures of, do I have a job? Do I need to take leave? My boss is not being cooperative. My folks are not being easy about it. You have all the time in the world when you're in college. The moment you quit that and get out, it suddenly feels like the world is after you. And I think especially more so nowadays, it's a huge rat race that, I don't know,
Yeah.
people are fighting. I don't even
Yeah,
get it, in that sense.
that is
So
the
it's
main
a
point.
lot. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a lot easier then, I feel. Yeah, that's sort of my journey with it.
Yeah. So, your hairstyle, you said that since childhood you were making a ponytail, and also was that inspired by some artist, or did you see it somewhere? What was the inspiration behind that?
Story behind that.
I think my parents just let me grow my hair. I don't think it was anything else, really.
Okay.
you know Yeah, but when I see those pictures now, I'm like, wow, I had long hair then. That's so cool.
Yeah. So, Jishnu, when did you started to take music seriously and all?
I think, actually speaking, I started taking music seriously only after joining Swarathma. Until then, I was just an amateur, time pass guitar player. थोड़ा बहुत bass guitar बजाने आता है and all that. And I really enjoyed only the aspect of playing music with others in the past. So I actually picked up the guitar in engineering college. आपने बिल्कुल सही बोला ऋषभ. पापा ने पहले बोला engineering कर लो, बाकी सब देखेंगे. And मुझे engineering करनी थी. It was not like I had became an engineer against my wishes. I didn't know anything else. I mean, हाँ ठीक है, marks अच्छे हैं, चलो. So it was after I went to engineering college and I met a lot of cool people who were musicians themselves, and I learned how to play. And then I've been in bands ever since. जहाँ जहाँ जाता था अपना एक कोई तो band या तो बना लेता था या join कर लेता था. And then XLRI happened, and in XLRI I met these guys who would then go on to write these amazing, cult songs of sorts. So I helped to produce those songs and release them and things like that. After that, I moved to Bangalore, where I, through our then drummer, came to know of Swarathma. And I played well enough. I was not really at the time a virtuoso or somebody who's this next great guitarist or bassist. But I played well enough and I had enough feel, and I really wanted to be in a band and make it. कि चलो अभी साथ में है करेंगे अच्छे गाने हैं तो let's do something. So that's really the story, and I think it is only in the recent past few years that I've begun to take music seriously enough to be able to express what it is that I want to say with my instrument and voice.
Hmm. So, in one of the songs, it was a kind of spiritual, not spiritual. I mean, you were asking that who is God, and there were a lot of, like Allah and all. Means, why is there religions and there is no use of casteism and all that?
That's Yeshu Allah or
Yeah,
Krishna
Yeshu
is
Allah.
the
Yeah. So,
Yeshu Allah or Krishna is the name of the song,
yeah,
I think.
Yeshu Allah Krishna. So,
Correct, correct.
uh, what is your guys' perspective about God? Are you guys spiritual, or do you have another beliefs?
Yeah, I mean,
Mushkil will start.
I'll answer that in two parts.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jishnu.
so I'll start the thing, and you can come in. So I'll answer that in two parts. The first is what is your personal belief about God, and second, what is the song really saying? And they are not necessarily the same. The reason I say that is because each of us has our own personal spiritual beliefs. Some of us may um, believe in God as has been discussed in the public as aisa hota hai. Some of us have our own different ideas of a supreme being, or maybe not. Whereas the song itself is not really about Yeshu Allah or Krishna in the specific names of gods, really, that sense. The song is about how Kabir returns to earth 500 years after his departure and comes back and sees ki khas kuch badla hai nahi. We were killing each other in the name of religion back then. We are still doing that now. We were doing stupid things at that time. We are continuing to do them now. We were misguided in the past. We are still misguided now. So that song is an expression of the hypocrisy that exists in organized religion in many cases, and not just in that typical sense. It talks about how people have converted the spiritual teachings for their own advantage to blind others and get their way. So it is about that nautanki that's happening in the name of religion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jishnu's right in that sense. Each of us do have our own form of spiritual walk or faith, as I would like to put it. Because end of the day, I think one like I for one, I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus. I gave my life to Jesus. But one thing we all can agree on, upon as a band is that we have faith, but it's not necessarily religion. Faith and religion are two different things, and I
Yeah.
strongly believe in that. And that's where the bigger confusion is. The band doesn't subscribe to religion. in that sense. We don't necessarily say this is the right way to do it from a religious sense, to like how we are talking about in the song, to say that go killing people, go wage wars, and go have whatever political agendas behind your religious things, and you're losing the point,
Hmm.
when you do that. So that's what the song is kind of talking about. It's addressing all the hypocrisies, the evil schemes and stuff that happens behind the scenes in the name of religion, whereby if you actually look into the faith aspect of what the religion actually speaks, if you really want to look at it in that sense, they don't talk about it at all.
Hmm.
So it's quite it's quite it's a it's a wonder thing for me of how, like, for me, the first time I read the Bible, before I became a Christian fully, when I started reading the Bible, I started questioning things, and I understood half the things that religion speaks about is not even there in the book.
Hmm.
And I was like, where did these things come from? And that's a question that I ask even today as a practicing Christian. Where do these things come from? I don't understand at all. I disagree with so many things
Hmm.
that sometimes even I studied in Christian convent. I studied in a Christian college, and I question half the things I learned there, because I'm like, hey, that's not even there in the book. Where are you getting these things from? You know,
Hmm.
so sort of, if you go in that path, the meaning of these songs becomes a little more apparent and evident to ask, somebody who doesn't know any of this is just standing in it's like, if you watch that movie PK,
Yeah.
that movie kind of, there is a particular scene which really touched me a lot, back in the day when I watched that film. I mean, he's a robot or whatever, he's some weird planet alien, and he goes into this gully where there are these murtis being made
Hmm.
of different gods, and he's standing there and saying, what am I supposed to do? Who am I
Hmm.
supposed to believe in? This guy is saying go here, that guy is saying go here, this guy is saying if you go here, you'll get your. He wants to go back home. He's stuck in a wrong planet,
Hmm.
and he's like, what am I supposed to do? And I think we all find ourselves at some point or the other in our life asking that question: what am I supposed to do?
Hmm.
I did all these whatever rituals, and it's not leading me anywhere. And you ask that question, it's kind of coming from that sense of saying, what am I supposed to do? Who do I believe in? Doesn't necessarily have to be the three names that you are mentioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more of a like a wordplay.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's the problem that is happening nowadays a lot. People are just believing whatever they're being said, and they're not being critical of anything. They're not finding the proof behind it, and they're just accepting it as true facts, whether it is not.
Mm,
Like they're not
mm.
questioning the facts. That is the main thing. And your point, Varun, that verifies that you said earlier. The question is not I; it is that you should become a we.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And you said that no personal beliefs are there.
true.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask one question. I was thinking about this. So uh, many people in the music industry and all, so uh, they are pro marijuana legalization. So do you guys have any point of view about that?
I hate it outrightly.
Okay.
I completely disagree with
Hmm.
that. uh, and it's not because of anything else, because but the fact that no matter what people say, it does harm your brain cells.
Hmm.
I've had conversations about this with medical qualified people, not random hearsay type of things, really high level qualified people. And they, of course, just because it is used in a controlled quantity for medical purposes doesn't make it okay. It still has harmful effects on your body.
Hmm.
It's the same as using steroids.
Hmm.
Doctors give you steroid based medication not to say that it is good for your body. It's just that they have to use it. But it has its own side effects. It destroys. And I think we all have seen enough people and lives being destroyed around us, you know, because of drugs or any form of substances. I really don't think we need more to add more to it by making it legal. I'm totally not okay with making it legal. That's my view.
So there is, I want to answer it from a different perspective, and there is a reason why musicians get asked this question, because there is a popular conception that in order to be a creative artist, a musician specifically, you have to subscribe to this view of this doped out individual जो अपने mind में खोया हुआ है, and जब वो खोया हुआ रहता है उसको ऐसी ऐसी मतलब आइडियाज आते हैं या फिर म्यूजिक को वो ऐसे डीपली अप्रिशिएट और क्रिएट करने लगता है कि जो वो सोबर टाइम पे नहीं कर पाता है. एंड आई थिंक दैट दिस इज बुलशिट. That if you have chosen music as your way of expression, if you allow yourself, if you allow the music to truly go into you in its purest form, then you do not need any other substance. You do not need, you do not even need to have a drink before you get on stage. And Swarathma is probably one of the fewer bands. When we go to college shows, you know, organizers will come. You know the expression on their face. Sir, सब ठीक है ना? आपको कुछ चाहिए तो नहीं? नहीं नहीं बॉस अपने को कुछ नहीं चाहिए. कॉफी पिला दो मुझे. कॉफी बस. अच्छा भाई मतलब कुछ जुगाड़ करा दें मतलब. नहीं भाई कोई डोंट. एंड दे आर सो डिसअपॉइंटेड. क्या सर आप हमारे साथ डोप नहीं करोगे? मतलब क्या है? क्या किस टाइप के बैंड हो आप? कोई सुट्टा नहीं पीता है, शो के पहले कोई दारू नहीं पीता है, कोई गांजा वांजा मांग नहीं रहा है. ये कैसा बैंड है मतलब? बट दैट्स द पॉइंट. यू डोंट नीड
कैसे
इट.
बैंड?
हाँ, if you, and to no discredit, I take nothing away from those who have a different point of view on it. Ultimately, if you are making good music, that's all I want to hear. But my belief, or rather the band's belief, is that you don't need it to make good music. And the legalization part of it is a different social and economic question, which I don't have a point of view on. But I wanted to address this thing, you know, yes, you know, we want to ask musicians, should it be legal or should it not? Ask anybody. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But don't ask musicians because we are supposed to be the users. We are not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's very true. Because, I mean, frankly speaking, there are so many people in the world who use marijuana on a day to day basis, perhaps, who are not necessarily musicians at all. They could be techies, you
Yeah.
know. And in fact, even what is happening in the country right now, interrogating Bollywood stars, I mean, I don't know them personally, so I have nothing to
Yeah.
say in their defense. But I'm saying it's a joke to me because you're catching these so-called popular stars while media is showing clips of hardcore drugs being sold on the streets of Mumbai on a broad daylight,
Hmm.
and people are coming and buying it,
Yeah.
and they're showing clips of that, and I was like, wow, you're showing that, and instead of catching all those people, why are you just going after a handful of so-called celebrities? And possibly that's where it begins to lead to make people believe that, oh, creative people means, yeah, they need it, right, to be creative. You don't need it to be creative, you know.
Yeah, I just asked because there are a lot of songs in which, people are, in one hand they have a doobie and they are smoking and they are singing something and they are just promoting it. So that's why I just wanted to know a point of view. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys have been struggling from a long time. I mean, you started very early and you uh, still not a lot of people know about you, because in my friend circle also people were not knowing about you, unless I sent them your YouTube links and Instagram links. So what do you think is the main reason behind you not getting popular as such, like comparison to other bands?
So, this is a question which we used to ask ourselves a lot in the past. And इससे क्या होता है ना कि there is a certain kind of feeling that you get which is pretty close to acidity. ठीक है कि मतलब आपको भूख है, ठीक है, पर आप खा नहीं सकते हो क्योंकि पेट जल रहा है, ठीक है, और वो हार्ट बर्न हो रहा है कि मुझे क्यों नहीं मिल रहे इतने सारे फॉलोअर, मेरे वीडियो पे इतने मिलियन व्यू क्यों नहीं आ रहे, मुझे वो शो नहीं क्यों नहीं मिल रहे जो ये फलाने बैंड को मिल रहा है, उसको तो साले को गाना भी नहीं आता है, उसको कैसे मिल रहा है, हमें क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. And the more we dwell on answering these questions, ki why are we not getting popular? My fear is that while the question is valid and it needs to be answered, why my fear is that if we get lost in answering that question, we will go further away from the main reason why we started doing this, which is to write and compose and perform.
Enough in that sense, and the answer to that question is, uh, I think for each of us need to at some point define what success looks like for ourselves. And for me, what success looks like is, am I able to put food on my plate? Am I able to pay my bills and manage whatever I'm doing with the work that I'm doing? Then that means you are successful. Success doesn't necessarily mean I'm packing a Wembley or I'm selling 10 million copies of my album worldwide. It used to be that at a certain point in time. That's not the case with a lot of musicians nowadays. They're able to successfully make a living being YouTube musicians. They're very successful. They have quite a lot of followers on YouTube, and all of that is happening, but they're not packing a Wembley at all. So they're living off something such as, let's say, Patreon, which is a crowdfunding sort of a thing, a website. And they are very successful musicians, be it online musicians, it doesn't matter. They may not be playing physical gigs as much, but they're very popular in the online space. Now, you take a band like Swarathma, we do a lot of physical gigs. We are not the strongest in the online space. We're working on building that. So, end of the day, we want to enjoy the journey that we are on, and while we are at it, learn as many things as we can learn and have fun. That's what matters, I guess.
So like Varun and Jishnu, I would like to ask you a question. कि like आपको नहीं लगता है if you had some person or related to who would handle your marketing things like be it shows or promotions or targeting the right channels, तो कुछ ज़्यादा मतलब आज जहाँ पे आप हो वो कहीं और होते आप if you had a marketing guy or something like that.
हाँ यार हो तो सकता था बिल्कुल. You worked with the best in the business for several years. The company that made the NH7 Weekender, the company that managed the career of all the big comedians, used to manage us as well.
Okay.
And we worked together. A lot of whatever success we had, we owe to them. But नहीं हुआ, अभी यहीं पे है, तो वो मार्केटिंग बंदा कौन है, शायद ये वीडियो देख के वो maybe he'll contact us and we'll work with him, who knows. So जितना आप सोचोगे ना अरे ऐसा होता था तो वैसा होता, तो जितना आप वो सोचोगे ना वो आपसे आपके काम से आपको डिस्ट्रैक्ट होने लगेगा. The more important thing is what feels good. If you're doing something and it's not feeling good, then change that. But the absence of that killer marketing guy has not made us feel bad. हो सकता है कि वो होता तो या होती तो very good होता, but नहीं हुआ, ठीक है.
अभी जो है वो ठीक है,
चलेगा. Not that we don't want to, of course. We have some and some good things ironically has happened in the recent lockdown time. Like for the first time we got we launched a song and got close to 400k views. That's never happened before. Mushkil Mein Jeena is a song that came out in June, soon after the lockdown. We are the only band from India that signed up with Apple International for a soundtrack that got released 3 days back, and that hit 53 million views. And suddenly that song, which we have never played and we never really considered that a great song or anything, we never used to play it much, That song is the most Shazam song from our catalog, and that's like the biggest sync deal that we have signed.
Yeah.
We are going to be on Family Man season 2 soundtrack, and
Okay.
so these kind of things are happening. So yeah, so and all that has happened without the marketing guy. अब वो
Yeah.
आएगा तो सोचो कितना और होगा आगे जाके. But ठीक है यार,
So it's
मजा
all
आ रहा है, कर
about
रहे हैं.
consistency, right? Just making the uh, best music that you can consistently and not,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think one more point could be that people are not, they don't try to find out quality music. They just try to find out music that has some beats which is copied from a Hollywood song or something like that, just entertaining. They're not
No,
trying to
wait,
find
wait,
out.
wait. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I'll tell you a story.
Hmm.
One day we were passing through security.
I knew this
वरुण
was coming.
ये वरुण फेस पाम कर रहा है, तो वी आर पासिंग थ्रू सिक्योरिटी, ठीक है, और हम जब सिक्योरिटी थ्रू सिक्योरिटी चेक में पास होते हैं तो पब्लिक बहुत परेशान होती है सीआईएसएफ वाले, क्योंकि हमारे पास मिनिमम 3 गिटार होते हैं बड़े बड़े,
Hmm.
ठीक है, ड्रम वाला वो स्नेयर ड्रम लेके जा रहा होता है, परकशन वाला कुछ हाथ में ढुलकी उल्की लेके जा रहा होता है, ठीक है, और मतलब बहुत सारा सामान होता है और पब्लिक परेशान हो जाती है क्योंकि वो बेल्ट पे एक जो गिटार होता है ना वो 4 सूटकेस की जगह ले लेता है, तो पब्लिक मतलब और परेशान, अर्ली मॉर्निंग फ्लाइट में तो मतलब दंगा होने लगता है कि ये कौन लोग हैं, इनको हटाओ. तो एक बार पहले इतना बड़ा गिटार गया एक, ठीक है, चेक किया, एक लेडी थी सिक्योरिटी चेक कर रही थी, फिर दूसरा गिटार गया, फिर तीसरा गिटार गया, ठीक है, फिर एक ड्रम गया जिसमें बहुत सारे मेटल पार्ट्स है, तो मतलब वो एक्सरे मशीन तो पगला जाता है कि बीप बीप, अरे क्या हो रहा है मतलब. तो वो बेचारी लेडी बहुत परेशान हो गई, बहुत परेशान. शी केम आउट ऑफ अ चेयर, वो जो एक्सरे में चेक कर रहे होते ना, केम आउट ऑफ, ओफो ये क्या ऑर्केस्ट्रा आ गया है, ड्रम बीट्स. तो आपने बिल्कुल सही बोला, लोगों को ड्रम बीट्स चाहिए होता है.
हाँ.
ये ऑर्केस्ट्रा ड्रम बीट्स जब तक नहीं बजाओगे तब तक आप सिक्योरिटी चेक में स्मूथली पास नहीं हो पाओगे. तो या पीपल डोंट केयर मैन, पीपल वांट गुड म्यूजिक. तो अगर आप दे रहे हो ड्रम बीट्स तो दो.
Yeah, I think music is such that you can use it either as a background score for your daily activities, or you can use it as an immersive experience. A lot of people would like to use music as a background score for their daily activities. So, hence, what is happening in the song isn't really the most uh, demanded thing out of it. What they actually require is something that just keeps them doing what they are doing. They're not necessarily looking at, am I enjoying this beautiful guitar solo that's happening in the song? I mean, they're like, something that's just playing. I'm getting bored while driving and I just want to drive and reach the destination and I want to have something playing behind. So if there are more and more people who are in that category now, people who are actually listening and immersing themselves into music. So which is very evident also because of, if you look at how technology companies don't change something for no rhyme or reason. If something is working great, they're going to continue making money out of it. They've figured that the whole vinyl thing is not working. Then they brought out CDs are not working. The whole everything moved out, and now they
Yeah.
figured, what, everything has to be downloads. So album artwork has gone down the drain. The whole album credits has gone down the drain. Nowadays you go to a Spotify or an Apple Music or whatever, you click on it, you don't even see who wrote the lyrics for the songs, who
Yeah.
mixed the album, who mastered the album, where was it recorded, who produced it. Nothing. There's absolutely no information about the credits at all. So back in the day when you and I used to open cassette players or CD player sleeves and go through the liner notes, we would see that, oh wow, this guy produced that album, epic. It's like when you say Hans Zimmer, Hans Zimmer is the man behind Lion King, is the man behind Inception, is the man behind whatever, so many such great
Interstellar. Yeah.
movies with music in it. And you know that because word of mouth, you see his name popping out on 4 or 5 different movies. You're like, oh wow, it's the same guy. but that's not even happening in the music world nowadays, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. I feel it's a terrible thing, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, it it has become background score for many people, I guess.
Yeah. So people are not getting credit. It's all about downloads, and it's all about how many likes and other stuff playlist or song gets.
So creative.
Yeah, means creating their own band. If there are people out there who want to create their own band, so what should they do? What are some of the insights that you would like to give them?
Let me start with the formation of the band and or artist, whether you want to be a solo artist or whatever. Most importantly, you must have something to say. You must have a point of view. You must have something unique that lets people understand, identify, and latch on to um, as a concept. Having said that, there is no real way for anyone to tell you that what you're doing is not working. People have told us also in the past कि यार ये क्या है ये नाम change कर दो style change कर दो ये नहीं चल रहा है वो नहीं चल रहा है. Do not listen to anybody else. Only listen to primarily listen to what your heart says and make that give it the best effort. If you want to find bandmates who will be equal contributors in your journey, be prepared to communicate effectively, let go of your own inhibitions, and uh, speak openly about things that you want to talk about. This is what Varun had earlier pointed out in terms of communication. Have the finances and the rights and responsibilities set in the beginning. In the band, we had a very DIY approach where one person would handle management, one person would handle finance, one person would handle production, one person would handle video, one person would handle photography, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
Find your individual skills and bring a second skill to the band. Don't just be a keyboardist or a drummer or whatever else. Be something more than that. That would be from the formation part of it. Create consistently. If you always try to put yourself in a place where you are constantly inspired to create. That's harder than it sounds, but that's one way to keep going. And then, of course, there's the whole production aspect of it. Varun is more qualified than me to talk about that.
Yeah, if you really want to start a band in that sense, yeah, I think finding like-minded people who may not agree with everything what you want to do, but at least resonate with you in some sense, are able to appreciate what you're bringing on the table would be a great start,
Hmm.
and let it build naturally from there. And there are a lot of things as far as the skills and technical stuff involved. You'll end up learning all those things along the way. At some point or the other, you'll figure out, what is a sound check,
Hmm.
why do you need a sound engineer, what is somebody like that going to bring on the board, and all those things is something that you'll figure it out. And I think every band has their own kind of journey with it. And nowadays things have become so much more easier and accessible in that sense compared to even the time when we started off, with the lineup. uh, Everything was such news to us. We were like, oh my god, what does a tech rider do? Like, you know, I think our first tech rider was a ripoff of Parikrama's tech rider, if I'm not wrong. We took things from there and we're like, okay, change this, change that, give this. That's our tech rider.
Hmm.
Nowadays, it's so cool. There are apps and all which builds your tech riders and all fancy things like that. So everything is a lot more easier now. But yeah, I would definitely say find what you want to play, what exactly resonates with you, what are the kind of stuff that makes you feel motivated to go back and play with a bunch of friends that you're making music with.
Hmm.
And yeah, leave the ego behind, and all of that.
Yeah. And in the beginning, you were saying that there are many times when your band had sort of heated arguments or fights, if you can say that. So, how should a band avoid
Yes,
that?
you can say fights.
Huh? Yeah. So, How
You can
should
say
they?
fights.
Yeah. So those fights, how can a band avoid them, or they will happen? You cannot avoid them.
Fights are essential.
Hmm.
Think of it like this. Okay, there is a very negative connotation to word fight. Fight means there's violence and there is pain. That's not necessary. You should possibly call it a working through of a disagreement. And that can sound like a fight, but it need not be. It is a fight if at the end of it, it is unresolved
So
and
the
you
good would be
feel debate. No, not really. Debate is, I am going to stand and speak for or against something I believe, and I'm going to try to convince you, and you're going to rebut my points, and then somebody will win the debate. A disagreement or an argument need not be won.
Hmm.
You must not look at it from a point of view कि मैं जीता तू हारा,
Hmm.
because ultimately you are both going to be playing the same song, and the thing that needs to drive it is not whether you got your way or another person got their way, but are you able to be a better band as a result of that disagreement, and can you put the reason of being in the band higher than whether you need to be right or not,
Hmm.
or you need to have got your way or not. So a fight is essential. You have to have fights, but you have to know how to fight and you have to fight fair. So an important skill in any band, forget about band, in any kind of team effort is knowing how to disagree and work through your disagreements with open and honest communication.
Hmm.
Yeah. Jishnus right there.
So, okay, we'll wrap it up.
Thanks for agreeing with me on this one.
So, before wrapping up, what are your plans, future plans for the band? Do you have a goal or a mission where you want to be in the coming months or coming years?
So, we used to
I
answer this
think
question.
right now that's a very invalid question considering we're under lockdown and what. I think
Um,
there is no future plan except get out of this somehow, man.
Yeah.
we used to answer this in a very MBA fashion. Okay, मैंने भी MBA करा हुआ है. हाँ, we want to be in the India's this band or that band, or हमें ये चाहिए, हमें इस type की opportunity चाहिए and all that. सब चलता नहीं है ये सब. And the more you make such grand plans, the more you get disappointed when they don't work out. So I think it is important to be honest to the process of whatever it is you've chosen to do. Like you guys have decided to create a podcast of interesting conversations, there is a process. And
Hmm.
of course, it's good to have a plan. I want to reach these many episodes. I want to reach, I want to have these kind of profile of guests. And all of that is going to be a result of the process. So what's the process? The process is compose music, get together, jam, come up with good songs that we feel good about if you're playing. So that's the immediate plan. We have 3 new songs which we want to record and release in this coming last few months of the year. There is a plan to do an acoustic set of video, like a video shoot of us playing acoustic songs. That's one thing that we want to do. And yeah, that's about it. And last, I mean, it's a very difficult time for all of us.
Hmm.
We are not getting to play shows, which is our bread and butter, pretty much.
Yeah.
वो नहीं हो रहा है, तो what else can we do? So we are innovating in fields of online shows and things like that.
Yeah. I saw one
So,
poster of digital.
but
Yeah. Some digital
so yeah,
show
that's
on
what
your
it.
website. Yeah.
Correct.
But I think the takeaway is that even if there is no bread and butter, we got Apple, so that's good.
That has saved the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was great having you guys. I guess we have covered a lot of things in this 1 hour.
Yeah, like just last question. So the story behind the song, like the Beta Sweater Pehno and most such songs. So where do you get inspiration from these songs? ऐसा तो है नहीं कि आज ऐसे बैठे हैं तो कल बेटा स्वेटर पहन लो पे गाना बना देंगे.
A lot of it happens through conversations for us. When we are writing a song, the first thing we end up doing is we write the music part of it always. We somebody ends up coming up with something on their instrument, and we all just naturally start adding to it, and we let it kind of like cook. We let it kind of breathe around. Sometimes it lasts for a few sessions, like across a few weeks, before we decide what is the song going to be about. Sometimes a song happens like in one shot, like Mushkil Mein Jeena just happened, like from beginning to end, it just happened. But other songs took a while, and
कभी कभी
sometimes in those conversations you come up with something.
कभी कभी 3 सीटियों में बन जाता है, कभी कभी 18 सीटी लगती है प्रेशर कुकर में, वही मतलब.
Yeah, so in that process you're obviously talking about what you feel, uh, you know the song is kind of like should be about, or what is it reminding you of, and sometimes, especially one of the things that I would strongly suggest is those initial few words that you mumble when you are writing a song. Don't ignore it. Try and keep that in mind, because chances are your mind and your heart and whatever your senses are naturally responding to what you're hearing, and there is, you often try and find a nugget there itself for your song. So your song can be something about that, and for us, Beta Sweater Pehno, since you particularly ask about it, it happened like that. There was that whole ad. We laugh about a lot of things during jam, and we were talking about that ad. Hey, do you remember that thing that used to come, that annoying Beta Sweater Pehno, Beta? And we just kept laughing about it, and it just became a song eventually, and Vasu said something, and Jishnu and Vasu have a lot of lyrical thing exchanges happening during jam sessions. They'll find rhyming words and they'll be tripping on that for a long time. And Sanjeev and I have our own random, different, otherworldly comedy happening between the two of us, which sometimes even we ourselves don't understand what's going on. We are laughing about our own things, and Joel is just trying to understand what's going on this side and that side.
या 1-6 पार्टनरशिप तो मिल गया, लेकिन ये चल क्या रहेगा.
Yeah, like he doesn't know why am I laughing. He doesn't know what is going on there. Like he's happy playing his drums, and in the middle of all this, ideas just come to life. That's pretty much how we write all our songs.
Yeah, so some of them are
Great, great.
spontaneous, some of them are planned. Some it's like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we have covered a lot of things. It was great having you guys, and it would be really great if we get a chance in future to come to your show and witness you in after all this COVID situation is over. So thanks a lot, guys, for joining
Yeah.
with us and doing this podcast for us.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks for having
Jishnus
us.
and Varun.
Spread the
Great.
word.
Okay,
Cheers,
guys.
Yeah.
Rishabh and Abhiyansh. Thanks. All the best for your podcast. Let
Thank,
us know when it comes out.
thank you. Yes.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya.